Good afternoon. And the empty chairs in the front row are making it obvious that the back benchers in the schools and colleges end up becoming TA professionals because all of you are stacked up at the back and nobody is willing to sit at the front. So, well done. And I think that behavior and that psyche continues as we go about doing what we do in talent acquisition, doesn't it? We are always at the back, not taking the credit, not sharing the limelight with the HR BPs or the more fancy roles in HR like Comp and Ben, etc. Or the poster boys of HR, which are the HR tech guys. Right? So we are the backbenchers of HR. I think that's why, in many ways, in my opinion, TA is a thankless job, as somebody got it in the previous session. So I would say we take the front seats, maybe literally two, but definitely in our roles, and become the center stage for HR as a function. And I think that's what future of talent for me really means. Where TA takes the center stage, creates the strategy for an organization, shapes the talent strategy for an organization, and helps the organizations grow. But future gazing is a tedious activity. I can't do it alone, so I'll need all of you. And I'll need us to communicate. I've been seeing a very silent audience since morning. So let's break that and let's communicate a little. But we'll do that with the simplest form of communication possible. And what is that? The simplest form of communication is raising hands. Alright? So I'll keep asking questions. And if you agree, raise your hands. Alright, so here's the first question for you before we get into the session. How many of us here believe that the future of talent is bright? Okay, alright, let's see some more hands. Can't be such a pessimistic audience. Really? So many of us feel it's not? Okay, interesting. We'd love to learn why you feel that way, but let's also try and understand how many of us feel your organizations invest adequate amount of time and money towards its customers. Right, that's a promising number. How many of us feel that your organization invests adequate amount of time and money towards its employees? And the number suddenly drops. And that's not surprising, right? Because in an economy which is growing so rapidly, business always takes center stage. So your CEO is always thinking about top line, bottom line, products, solutions. All your leaders are constantly thinking about those, and there you are as an HR professional in that organization, left to ponder this and solve for this big problem, which is employee. So somebody rightly said, most businesses spend a great deal of time and money towards its customers, wanting to understand what the customers want, what drives them, what is their motivation, what are their drivers, but not as much investment goes towards employees. Would we agree? Yes, no, or just the raise of hands again? Alright, some people do, others don't, it's fine. But before we get into the next few slides, this lack of investment towards employees, what it essentially does is it disconnects us from what employees are thinking, how they're feeling, what they want, what they don't want. And over the years, one of the biggest challenges for talent acquisition has been the inability to define what are the skills that we are recruiting for. The JD was made 10 years ago. It hasn't been updated in the last 10 years. The role has changed. The hiring manager is hiring for the new role, but the JD is still talking 10 years ago. So we've not gotten those changes. So we said, let's try and understand how the world is changing. So we at Cielo did some research and came up with these 5 key skills which we feel are the skills of the future, not just for talent acquisition, but for businesses in general. The ability to create new revenue models through entrepreneurial mindset. I think that's the most significant skill set for the future. The ability to ideate and think laterally to innovate. Cognitive ability to deal with constant change. There's a lot of chatter about change. So change is not just a behavior. You've got to have the ability to absorb change, process change, and deal with it. And there's a bit of cognition involved there. Ability to identify and manage risks. And we do that all the time as recruiters. When we make an offer, there's a huge risk that the person is not going to come on board. The ability to anticipate it and manage that risk is a key skill set that every person who is in business would need to learn, more so the recruiters. And finally, the competence in using new tools and technologies, which was rated as the highest. And again, a question to all of you: do you think the ability to manage and learn new tools and technologies is the most crucial skill set that employees, particularly in talent acquisition, need to learn? Show of hands again if you feel that's true. Right? Good. But enough of future gazing, right? As somebody would say, spiritually be in the present. So let's come back to the present. While the future is what we think it would be, what is the present? So the present is that India is the fastest growing major economy. Last year we grew at 8.2%, and that's massive. And that's another reason why every business is focused more on the business, on its customers, on the revenue. The other fact also is that in spite of all that growth, we still lose 17 to 19% employees each year. More than we've ever had in the history of known employment. And if we take it closer home to talent acquisition, that smiley is symbolic of what a recruiter feels. And it's not surprising that the recruiter attrition is higher than the overall industry attrition. Now, while those are some statistics for us to ponder upon, and we saw the 5 skills for the future, let's also be honest with ourselves and look at the 5 skills that the recruiters bring to the table today. And I'm not saying this is for every recruiter. There may be that gem in your organization who you don't want to let go, but bulk of the recruiters are doing keyword or string search. That's the most common skill that a recruiter comes with. Administrative recruiting, they're very good with moving paperwork, collecting documents, scheduling interviews. People take so much joy in doing that kind of administrative work when they are recruiting, right? Task execution, so do this, do that. So many administrative activities that a recruiter needs to do, and they're loving it. A lot of recruiters that we talk to say, we don't want to focus on sourcing, we want to do end-to-end, which means I want to do all of that administrative activity. And then finally, stakeholder management, which is really not stakeholder consulting, really is management. I will do what my stakeholders are asking me to do, and then will manage their expectations. So these are the skills that the recruiters are currently sitting with. And then the problem gets compounded further because there are industries coming up in India where we've not hired for a lot. So think of healthcare. We don't know a lot about hiring for healthcare companies. It's a segment that's going to blow up in the next 10 to 15 years. Mobility is another big industry that's coming up. We know a bit about automotive, but I don't think we know a lot about aviation. I don't think we know a lot about space travel, and these are the sectors of the future. Organizations are already struggling to hire talent for EV as a segment, right? So we don't know a lot about hiring for mobility as a segment. We don't know a lot about hiring for renewable energy as a segment, right? So there's a problem where business is not focused on people. There's a problem where the recruiters do not have the right skill sets. And there are new industries coming up which will require us to think and behave differently. So all of this, coupled with certain recruitment trends, employer value prop, we've heard so much throughout the day, it's becoming more and more important. All of us are here because it's an ET event. None of us are here because there was a certain speaker coming. I mean, you would have come irrespective of who was speaking. You're all here because ET has that brand which pulls people. And similarly, organizational brands that pulls talent have become more pertinent than ever before. Upskilling is another reality, and we've talked about it, so I'm not going to get into the details of that. Also, looking beyond the 7 metros or the big job hubs in India to see where does the talent exist outside of these 7 cities. I think a big priority area for organizations. And finally, automation across the enterprise. We're talking of AI, we are talking of digital. So all of that is defining certain recruitment trends in the present moment. So there's a future expectation, there's a present reality, and in all of that, leveraging digital and tech becomes a key. So let's understand what's happening in that space. The speed to digital adoption has been crazy. It's like never before. So it took Netflix 1,200 days to get 1 million subscribers. It took ChatGPT 5 days to get. Right? And I'm sure this is not a wow slide for you. Most of us know this. We are all well-educated, informed audience. But that's the pace at which data adoption and tech adoption is moving. When we did a survey and reached out to employees of 250 different organizations that we serve, 72% of them said they feel they are more comfortable with tech than their co-workers. And that's true for all of us, right? We believe we are better than ever. The others down us, so that number can be a little skewed. But 52% of them said they're excited about AI. At the same time, about 30% also said they're a little hesitant about it. So we said, what's causing that hesitation, or what's the excitement about AI, or where's the excitement about AI coming from? 87% of people believe that AI, in the form and shape that it exists today, is good for streamlining processes and building in efficiencies. And 77% believe it is good for improving employee experience. Beyond that, the chatter around AI of cost saving, getting things done with smaller teams, innovative ways to work is not the primary driver for AI. And that resonated very, very well with me, because I do not feel that in spite of all the chatter around AI, it is there yet where it can create the impact that we expect AI to create. It is at the best going to give us efficiencies, going to enable us to work better. And then the third reality around the digital and tech piece is the eruption of data. So just 14 years ago, the world was sitting with about 2 zettabytes of data, just 2 zettabytes, not small in any way, but look at what has happened in the last 14 years. The world now has 181 zettabytes worth of data. So it's a data explosion. Data lake is no longer a reality. We're dealing with oceans of data. So put together in perspective the need for futuristic skills, the set of current skills, and whatever's happened on the digital side, and it creates this new recruitment paradigm for us. This is where we expect talent acquisition teams to be. This is what we expect talent acquisition teams to do. We expect recruiters to be data literate. I'm not going to define what it means because it's there on the screens for you. We expect them to be able to deal with AI and machine learning basics. We expect our recruitment teams to understand what is sourcing intelligence, and that goes beyond logging into Naukri and downloading a CV. We expect recruiters to understand how do they build long-term relationships. Not a relationship which is based on that requisition and tact, but a relationship that is genuine with their business leader, that is fueled by the desire to create value for the business. We are storytellers, aren't we? We tell the organization's story to candidates, we tell the candidate's story to the organization, and hope that both can love and find some sort of resonance into the two stories and the match happens. And then we need to continue to be agile at project management as well as continuously learn. So at Cielo, when we looked at this paradigm, we said, is the recruiter today capable of doing all this? And I'm going to ask the same question to all of us here. How many of us feel the recruiters that we have today in the industry are not capable of doing all of this the way it is stated? Right? We see some hands where people believe we don't have that capability with the recruiters. So at Cielo, we researched for about 3 years and we said, how do we make the recruiter capable? Because if you look at the top line, it says balancing technology and human touch. So somebody earlier was talking about the fact that AI and human touch needs to exist together, and we firmly believe in that idea. I don't think tech is here to replace jobs. I don't think that has ever happened in the history of mankind. When computers came, people said, jobs chale jayenge. Computers fueled jobs. You got millions of IT jobs because computers were there. AI is not going to take the jobs away. AI is going to enable people to do more. And built on that principle, we said, let's create something that will enable recruiters to do more. So we said, recruiters don't create job descriptions, they just follow job descriptions. So why not give them a tech that will help them create the right JDs? So we created a solution where we put the name of the job, click on process or generate, and a job description is created almost instantly. So the power of Gen AI. Was it? Then we said, once the job is there, how do we create a job advertisement so that the recruiter doesn't have to bother about how do I talk about this job to the world outside, because a long JD is not something anybody wants to read anymore. People read news and shows. So we said, we will create the job advertisement, or we'll help the recruiter create the job advertisement. So you choose what's the call to action, you choose what's the output, where you want to advertise the job, and click on generate. And again, a job advertisement is created for the recruiter, making the recruiter's job super, super simple. Was it? Now, once all of this is done, the recruiter needs to start gathering insights, because we said we are sitting on tons of data and we need to bring that insight to our business leaders. But how many of our recruiters bring insight or market insights or talent insights to their hiring managers? Very few. So we said, let's empower the recruiter to get those insights. So the tech is so intuitive that as soon as you start typing the job title and start providing a few details, just observe the right side section which says insights. Insights such as the compensation benchmark for this job, the supply and demand data, what's the number of jobs available open, what's the number of profiles available, all of that starts getting populated for the recruiter. And the recruiter suddenly has so much power in their hands to go to a hiring manager and talk to them about this is what is there or what is not there. Was it? Yeah, you can play. Now I know what is it. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. Yeah, it's great. Now once the requisition or the job details have been filled, the insights are available with me as a recruiter, I can now define some key skills for the job. And the moment I define those skills as a recruiter, AI tells me, based on the skills and the job that we've shared, here are some sample profiles. And as soon as I see this sample profile, the system tells me, why don't you look at this and tell me, the system, which ones overqualified, which ones below expectations, which ones meeting expectations, right? So you train the system and tell the system what's the kind of person you're looking for, and that's it. Based on that, the system identifies the right candidates, reaches out to them, sends them that communication, tells the candidate why we've matched you, why we found you to be a suitable candidate, asks the candidate, or the candidate can ask us what's the salary, so the system will display and tell the candidate what the salary for the job is, and once the candidate says they're interested, they can rate themselves on the skills that you asked for. So the candidate provides their self-rating against the skill set, confirms their acceptance for the job, provides their contact details, and there you go. The recruiter has a list of candidates available to them. The candidates see the suitable time slots for interviews, because this is integrated with Outlook of hiring managers, and they can select which are the slots at which they're available. They set their preferred slots and times, and the recruiter now has a qualified candidate who's told you when are they available for an interview. The recruiter simply goes and schedules the interview. But before that, what the recruiter is also able to do is upload the JD, upload the candidate's document to get a candidate profile. Can you pause it? It says, for this candidate, what's the gap analysis? What are the pros of the candidate? What are the cons of the candidate? So it's not just a CV that's going to the hiring manager, it is also the recruiter's insight, which is not really the recruiter's insight. In this case, we are not going to tell that to the hiring managers, right? We're going to tell them that recruiters did it. And that's how the recruiters suddenly come and show themselves in a different light to their businesses. Where earlier you were sending me a CV downloaded from Naukri, now you're sending me so much more data, so much more insight. Let's play it. And then, as you interview candidates, these days mostly online, and if you're capturing the transcript of that conversation, the system analyzes that transcript and generates an interview evaluation for the hiring manager to consume. So once again, the hiring manager can see that beyond the CV, when we spoke to the candidate, what's the interview analysis, what's the gap analysis, and what are some follow-up interview questions that the hiring manager should be asking this candidate to ascertain that the candidate is really a good fit for the organization. So you've empowered the recruiter with so much insight and information that now the recruiter has really become the consultant that we all are known as. We are consulting, we are advising. We're not just going with a paper and pushing it and hoping that it becomes a hire. We're really showcasing meaningful information. So that's the power of data and AI that we thought we'll build to enable recruiters to do their job better. And that's where the human and the tech combines together to create an impact. So I know there's lunch. I'm not going to hold you back, but some impact of the tech that we've used. We've seen 50% reduction in time to qualified candidates. We've seen 33% reduction in time to hiring manager submissions, 33% reduction in time to hiring managers interviews, just by using that tool and labeling the recruiters to do better. When we surveyed the hiring managers, 86% of them said they are seeing a significant difference in the way the recruiter is behaving and responding and recruiting post the usage of the tool. And recruiters rated this at 4.8 on a scale of 5. But for me, the most important one, and that is significant, is that 90% of conversations that got initiated with candidates became active applicants. All of this combined together created a 2x increase in recruiter productivity. So that's the impact of leveraging AI along with a human, not in isolation. And a little bit about Cielo at the end. I wouldn't leave the stage without talking about it. My organization's not going to let me go from here. So Cielo is a large global RPO and recruitment tech firm. We are headquartered in US and in Gurgaon in India, present in more than 112 countries, 255 clients, serving them in 39 languages with about 2,500 employees, with 18 offices. And we do RPOs, we do what we call T-optimizers, which is a part of your hiring problem can be solved. So we can do sourcing, we can do interview scheduling or anything that you want. We offer search solutions. What you just saw on the screen through those processes was an example of digital accelerators, which is the technology that enables your recruiters. And we also offer HR tech and consulting across those different sectors. So I know our time's up. But let's not close the conversation. Let's continue this conversation. We are right outside the hall. We'd love to meet you and chat with you should you need to know more about what we can do and how digital accelerators can really empower your recruiters to do more. And the first 10 people who we can engage with in a dialogue, we'd be happy to do a 4-hour PA diagnostic for your organization to help you see what you can do with your talent acquisition function, how you can improve it, all for free. No charges on that. I'll see you around and have a great conference, and it was a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.